So welcome back to Stu Structures. We are here to start doing the cutting the wood and stuff to build Sparky's house, so stay tuned. Okay, welcome back. I am Mark Stewart and this is Stu Structures, and like I said, we are here to start the build on Sparky's house. I have the siding materials and things I need in to start working on the walls. I was looking at a couple other things. There's a couple other materials I might order instead of trying to scratch build, but I'm going to make that up as I go along and see what needs to be done. So anyway, let's just jump into this and start cutting some walls and start the build on this house. The first thing I'm going to start with is the front of this house and work my way around the sides and into the back. And just going through this whole house and choosing materials. I mean, the siding is easy. It's board and batten siding, and it's available out there in the marketplace. So I ordered that, and the other siding in the rear as well. But I come through and I figure out all of my measurements for all the walls, and that gives me window sizes and all that type of thing as well. And then I figure out how many windows, what sizes of windows, and they're so varied in this house that I think I'm just going to go ahead and just make these windows, because there's not a lot of mullions in any of these windows. And then, I figure out the rest of my materials, which for the windows, it's going to take a lot of, like 1x2s, 1x6s, styrene and stuff to form the windows, the doors, just a lot of plastic small parts besides the wood, 2 different woods for the siding. And I think I'm going to use some cardboard for the garage doors and use some 1x4s or 1x6s to trim those out. I went ahead and had placed on my order a few weeks ago, and I've got everything in, so we're just going to start cutting wood now and putting this together. The first area, like I had said earlier, I'm going to start working on is this front door inset area here. And I just go ahead and went through the stuff that I ordered in, and I have this board and batten siding here. And a lot of these panels on the front of the house are about 10 foot tall or so, so I just go ahead and cut out a few different 10 foot tall panels. And then with those drawings and the dimensions I had figured out, I go ahead and cut the inset panel there where the door sets into. And while I'm doing this, I want to work on several of these panels at the same time, so I just go ahead and cut a bunch of these panels all at the same time, because as glue is drying or paint is drying on one, I can be working on another. So I go ahead and use those dimensions I had to cut all these panels. And then I proceed with cutting out the front door so we can start building the door. I don't have a door that'll work for this. So I'm going to have to make something up. I find some styrene that's a good frame for the door, because this is as thick as the wood is, so it'll cover the whole entrance or opening in the wood. And I come through and the house is basically a gray color, so I put the basic gray paint on the door and then use that styrene and trim out the overall frame of the door. Now this does have a screen door on it, but behind that it looks to me like a 4-panel door. It's painted burgundy, but I have this Tichy 4-panel door, so I'm going to use this. And I don't need the frame on it. The frame on the left hand side I need, where it separates that tall window from the door, so I leave that piece of the frame on and just cut the rest of the frame off, and now I have a door that I can use in that panel. So what I'm going to do then is I just take that panel and glue it into that frame at the door entranceway. And I'm also adding here a small panel that goes underneath that window beside the door. And I need to trim out some stuff on this, so I'm using this 10x20 styrene strips to come back and add some trim work. And that goes around that little square panel at the bottom, then some of that larger stuff goes up above that for the seal, and then that also wraps that whole window area up above that. Now, I had pre-cut these windows. One of these small windows goes in that opening there. The larger window, we added the screen door later behind it, but we go ahead and glue that glass panel in and paint the front door, and this is ready to add the screen door in, so we need to start making that. And to make the screen door, I'm just using these cheap for sale sign type of things that I get for 99 cents for the plastic. It has this wording on one side, but on the other side it's pure white. So I just lay out the door size that I need and the basic lines that I need to go by to cut this door out. And I go ahead and cut the oval out and the square opening below that where all the little tiny dowels are, and that's the basic cutting done for this door. Now, there are some trim pieces that I'm going to use in this. I ended up not using this 20 by 20, but the 2 by 3 I did do for the framing of the door itself. And here you can see the outside frame of this on at this point. And there's a couple more frame pieces to put in, but I also cut some really tiny just straight piece and put those little dowels in that opening as well, and came back and added these other two pieces. When I place a door in place, it just, the frame on the left hand side just needed to be a little deeper, so I did add a piece on that left hand side. And then I took more of this 20 by 20 piece and I added a little bit to the top because there was just too much play in the door for the opening. But by adding these two pieces and then trimming them down to proper size, it fits in there really snug and is the way it needs to be. Now I did go ahead and glue the glass to the back side of this and then glued the door in place. And then once that's in place, I can add these two small side panels that come out square from that and set this in back on the front of the house. Now to the left of that we have garage doors, and I had previously cut these panels and I just went ahead and put some gray paint on them. I did flip them over and I cut the two outside wall sides back to 45s because there'll be walls that come out and meet these, and I don't want the joints to show. And then I come back with that 10 by 40 trim and do some outside trim around the frame of the garage door where it will meet up to. Now for the garage doors, I'm just using this cheap cardboard that I got out of packaging a long time ago. It's a real thin, nice, heavy grade cardboard. But I cut panels that I can glue to the back side of these garage door panels that I previously made. And then I just come back and glue those into place. And then I need to start just layering all the pieces onto the front of that. So I come through at first and just put all the measurements on there for my panels. And I find this 1x4 board that I'm going to use to do all this trim with. And just get my glue ready. And I start by, just like I said earlier, just marking all these lines for where the panels will be. And these are slightly off, but I can correct some of this as I go through and start laying these panels. And I start with the top and bottom 1x4s on the door, and then I come back and put the side pieces on next and the little angles on top the door, because all the other boards inside meet up to these outside frame boards. The next long boards are the ones where the door panels overlap. And you can take a knife and just cut a groove down the middle of these once you glue them into place, and it looks like there's individual boards at the top and bottoms of the panels. And then I come back and just add all that small upright bracing in between all those panels to create all these small square panels. And then I put some white paint on it, and voila, we have two panels for garage doors to use on the front of our house. Now there's still some door opening devices and all that kind of thing we're going to glue to this, but for now I'm just going to go ahead and glue the first panel onto the front recessed area where that front door was. The other panel that I'm going to work on this week is this other side of the house where the picture window, and then you have the porch roof above that and these two small windows above that. And I flip it over and come back and cut the boards at a 45-degree angles because the side walls are going to meet into these like they did the garage door panels. And I come back with that 20 by 40 board and frame these out like I've been framing everything else out. And once I get the outside on there, I can go ahead and mark the clear styrene that goes in that big picture window and go ahead and get it cut, and then frame it out with some of that 20 by 20 stock, and just set it in enough from the back side that the styrene glass can set in the back and be glued into place. And that's what I do. I just go ahead and follow through with those steps and glue that small window into place. And that's, you know, as far as I'm going to get with that panel this week. Now, I did go ahead and cut the panels for the sides of the roof porch out front over the front deck and got those ready. And the other thing, since I was on a trip this week, I didn't want to waste my time during the week. And, you know, I went to one of the, I can't remember, I think it was Michael's, where I found this paper. But it kind of has a blue-gray tint to it that I thought would be nice to represent the collar and shingles on Sparky's house. So I cut these real long strips, and then I cut them into short pieces and just go through and cut all the shingles. And these are just random. The shingles on Sparky's house are not all even. So there you have this week's segment of Sparky's house. We got a good start on it. It took a long time to do some of that detail with the front door area. You know, and then framing out all those windows and stuff, because I'm making them all by hand, takes a little bit of time too. So anyway, my last week I spent in Virginia, so I'm kind of behind a little on working on this house. I'm home for the next week or 10 days before I take off again. So we'll see how much we can get done in the next week. But, you know, we got a good start on this. You know, the walls, there's some areas that have more detail than others. And, you know, while everything isn't exact, I want to get a good feeling for what was there. So, you know, I do spend some time on some areas more than I will on others. In any case, thank you for coming back and sharing this time with me. I hope you're enjoying Sparky's house build. I'm glad I can do this for him. It makes me feel good because he's done a lot for me. And he's done a lot for other people out here in this community too. So, you know, Sparky 107. If you're not familiar with his channel, go look him up. He has live hangouts every week as well. And, you know, he just shares a lot of good information and other sites and stuff that you can learn from for working on this hobby. And that's what it's all about, the sharing of information. So like and share this video. You know, it helps my analytics out there and gets me out there more in front of more people. And, you know, it's all good. I want everybody to enjoy their hobby and to have abilities to build things for themselves that they can't find out there in kit form. And that's what this is all about. Just break out some goods and do some scratch building. Happy model railroading.